Welcome to the D2 Baseball Podcast, your top source for all things D2 Baseball. Before we jump into today's episode, I've got some exciting news. Are you looking to reach a passionate, engaged audience? We're now offering ad spots on our podcast. By advertising with us, you'll connect with thousands of dedicated D2 baseball fans, including players, coaches, and avid supporters. Here's why you should consider partnering with us. Targeted reach. Engage a specific audience that loves D2 baseball. High engagement. Our listeners are loyal and tuned in regularly. Affordable rates. Competitive pricing for all budgets. Flexible formats. Choose from pre-roll, mid-roll, or post-roll ads. Interested? Email us at diviibaseball@gmail.com to learn more and secure your spot. Let's hit it out of the park together. Thanks for considering this opportunity. Now, let's get to today's episode of the D2 Baseball Podcast.
Welcome into the Division II Baseball Podcast. I'm Will Connerly. He's Robert Bryan. We're joined alongside Jay Snyder today, head coach for Newberry. Served as an assistant for a long time, but this summer now steps into the head coaching role. So, Jay, you're very familiar with this program. Now you have the opportunity to be the head coach. First of all, thank you for taking the time to allow us to talk about you and your program. And second of all, when that news broke down and you transitioned to being the head coach, how was that transition? Because it's not like you don't know much. You know a lot about the program. It's a different transition than maybe we've seen in the past where you come and you're unfamiliar with the players. Enlighten us of how that process was for you when you step into that role this summer.
Obviously it was an honor. It was a great honor, right? I thought it was the smoothest transition I thought possible, right? When you speak to, like you said, you know, I'm not coming into a different culture, a different program where they don't know me, I don't know them. I mean, just many thanks to all the people that, you know, reached out, you know, Sean, our athletic director, Sean Johnson, our president, you know, Dr. Sharon's, as far as making it a smooth and quick transfer. I mean, the news broke on Wednesday night of Coach Triplett leaving, and I was driving back from Florida from recruiting at the time, and my AD calls me and says, "Can we meet first thing in the morning?" I said, "Yes, sir." And 8:30. By 9 o'clock, I was back in my office with a contract. So it was that quick. So I think he kind of knew as well that this could be possibly happening. So just very fortunate for that to happen. But like I said, I'm very lucky too, though, because I don't have to step into a place to where they don't know me, I don't know them. And we're trying to, you know, you're trying to instill all of your thoughts and your things that you want to instill, and instead it was already in place, you know, so I was pretty lucky there.
And Coach, you know, speaking of that transition, I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on this of, you know, what are some differences that you've experienced so far now being the head coach, you know, since the summer versus being the assistant coach all those years?
I mean, one, I would say I'm very, very lucky with, you know, I spent 14 years with Coach Triplett, and always kind of taught me and treated me and prepared me for this moment whenever it might have been. And so he gave me a lot on my plate in the past. So I would say the biggest couple things were, one, I would buy items, I would buy goods, right? But I didn't handle the budget. I did not handle the checkbook. So that's a little different, learning and trying to budget that and make sure that, you know, you have the funds to do what you guys want to do. And then that was one, the budget. Then just honestly, I said, Trip, man, this phone never stops ringing. You got to answer to everything now. And so that was a little bit different, right? Because in the past, it used to be, well, hey, ask the boss. Well, now you are the boss. And now you got to make every decision. So that was a little different, but those are the two biggest. And then obviously hiring a staff, you know, and I've been part of it with Tripp because we've hired a lot of pitching coaches in our time. For 14 years, there was two staples, and it was Trippy and I. here in the program. But seemed like we were always having to replace a pitching coach because they would do well and move on. And I wanted to make sure, being my first job, I wanted to make sure that you kind of hit, and I wanted to make sure that I hit on our coaches, and I took my time with it, and I felt that we did a really good job as far as hitting on who we needed to hit on.
Speaking of hitting, I think that you probably have a better perspective on that than maybe somebody else, because if you kind of turn the clock back, Newberry hit on you, right? Served as a top assistant for 16 years. And does that give you, and in that span, you guys have had a lot of success. And so did that give you more perspective to be able to know what to look for when you're looking to hire a staff and your assistants?
Yes, it did. But I mean, again, you want to talk about lucky? Okay, I told you I spent 14 years with Coach Triplett. Well, he's not the guy that hired me. And, for 2 years. So I was here 2 years prior to Tripp, and very fortunate that he kept me on because we didn't know one another. And we worked together for a month. I was honoring out my contract. We worked together for a month. That's why I tell people, man, you want to talk about a 1-year contract? I was on a day-to-day contract for 1 month. So that's a little scary, but, then you turn around, you work, 14 years together. It was pretty awesome, pretty great. And I was so fortunate for him and, all the lessons he's taught me, and he'll continue to teach me. But, what I was looking for, honestly, was like loyalty. And I don't need someone to be here 16 years with me, right? Like, and maybe I'd love it, right? I'd love it. But I was looking for loyalty, but I was looking for a guy that was a go-getter. And because you want to talk about roles changing. Okay, well, the roles used to be I would miss games to go on the road, or I was here, I was there, and you just had to beat the bushes. You got to go out and you got to recruit. And now as a head coach, I think they frown upon that if the head coach misses practice and misses games because he's going to go out on the road. So now we're still going to recruit. I'm still going to recruit, but I need some other assistants that are go-getters. And so it did give me a little perspective on what I was looking for as far as in the hiring process. But I didn't want to hire everybody like me. And that's not to say that I want different personalities. And I think Coach Gordy Tyson, our pitching coach, he was on staff last year with us. He's a very good, him and I are very good yin and yangs, right? Like I'm like live on the seat of my pants, and I'm high energy, and Gordy is very laid back and relaxed, and he thinks things through. Well, he's been in this seat multiple times before. So for me to keep him on, I thought was a no-brainer, just due to the fact that I was going to lean on him, and because he's been in these situations, and that was very important to me as well. So, but I wanted very, very different personalities throughout the entire staff, because you're going to have different personalities when you talk about your players.
And Coach, I did want to ask about Gordy, and his experience as a coach, how much of an impact that is to you to help you with, leading this program.
I mean, it's instrumental, honestly, because there's just so many things that you don't really think about, where, hey, what would you do in this situation, right? Like, I mean, we just had a minor incident the other day, and I mean, I'm not going to go into elaboration, but it was a team matter. And I'm like, okay, Gordy, if I make this decision, it could affect the team in this way. If I make this decision, it could affect the team in this way. What do you think the proper way is? Because this is what I'm thinking. How is that going to affect the team? Because it's not about me. And that's one of the things I want everybody to understand. It's not about me, and it's not about one player. It's about us. It's about the greater whole. And I think our players really understand in that, where I don't care about me personally. I care about us, and I care about Newberry, and I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for us. So, but having Gordy on staff to answer things like that and help me, guide me through those things, has been short of a blessing. Let's just say it's been a blessing.
When you bring up one player, I know there was a last year with Robert and I covering Division II baseball, one guy that just every single week he was having 10 hits a weekend. How impressive was it to see what Donovan Ford did for your team last year at the plate? I mean, it was really special, and I think people didn't realize he also had 35 stolen bases. I mean, just everything he did throughout his career was very impressive for you guys.
Yeah, Donovan, I mean, obviously was a great player. A big spark plug for us. Leader, just like almost like a trendsetter, right? Like he got the thing rolling. And he was an absolute competitor. Now, was Donovan Ford that type of player coming out of high school? No, he was. He was a good player. He was a good player. But he fit what we did, and he fit the mold of the type of players that we like to go after. And he worked hard. Where he really worked hard was defensively with the glove skills. He was a spot player as a freshman. And then offensively, he really worked to improve the entirety of his game. I mean, he was pretty much a one-dimensional, one side of the field hitter. And I thought that really where he evolved was using the entire field. Obviously, he added that, and then you add the bunt game in to go along with it. But, I mean, you look at 2 years ago, he had 90-some hits. Last year, I don't know what it was. He's still an All-American, over like 400 average or something like that. But for a guy that has the bunt tool and could run like the wind blows, didn't really use the bunt game last year. So he's getting that by swinging. And for a little guy, man, don't judge a book by his cover, because that guy is a freaking animal. And Cincinnati has got a winner. Hated to see him go. But at the end of the day, you always want what's best for these kids, right? And we got it. We understood it. He entered the portal for all the right reasons, and there's no hard feelings. I wish him nothing but the best. But he brought great things for us for the past 3 years, and now it's somebody else's turn, and somebody else, not to be Donovan Ford, but to be themselves. And I don't need somebody to hit 440 and do what he did, but we need a couple people to add all that up to do what he did, and so on and so forth. So.
And Coach, like speaking within that, your program each of the last 3 years has stolen 120 plus stolen bases. In terms of your style of offense, how has those amount of stolen bases impact your offense? And then two, how do you develop / recruit base stealers?
Well, as far as how the offense and how we like to do it, I mean, we like to add pressure, right? Put pressure. Because last time I checked, I don't know too many 18 to 22-year-olds that handle pressure very well. So we're always talking about apply pressure instead of trying to defend pressure. So speed is pressure. And if you would have told me, 21 years ago when I first got into this, like, hey, I'm going to like speed guys, and I'm going to like to bunt and run and do a bunch of different things, I'd say you're foolish. But when you play in a park the size we play in, and you change the bats, and it makes that speed pool a little bit different. So the bunt game, the running game, it's just a matter of creating motion. And the way I like to talk about it to recruits is like, it's like running the option in football. There's a lot of misdirection, and you just don't know what's going on. So on any one given play, there could be a lot of things going on in one play, but pretty much on every pitch, there seems like there could be something on. And it's just a fun game to watch too. And guys really get into it. They get involved, but and they start to see it happen. Like the way the offense has to run is 9 guys that work together, because it's not just built around one player, 2 players. It's 9 guys that work together. I got to do my job so he can do his job, and then I'm setting this guy up to do his job. So, but the base stealing, how do we like to run, and we just work on it. So I wouldn't say that we necessarily go out and say, okay, hey, that guy's a base stealer. you like guys that can run, right? So yeah, we measure the 60, but we really like to measure the 30. And you just teach it and you work it and you work it and you work it and you just drill the what out of it till we get good at it. And you don't have to be a 6'5" runner to be a good base stealer. You don't, it's just about keys and cues and seeing if you can pick something up and knowing on what pitches to go on and what pitches not to go on. And, just now we're going to get thrown out though. Don't think we're not. We're going to get thrown out, but we're just looking to put pressure on. And at the end of the game, we're just looking to try to score more runs than other people. So any way possible.
And I think that was really on display. Like you bring up the point, especially in your guys' record-breaking 2023 season when you post 43 wins just a couple years back, and you guys stole like 170 plus stolen bases, but you were getting on base so often that it afforded you those opportunities. When we talk about that season, what do you think made that group so special to do what you guys did, to go to the NCAA tournament, pick up a victory there, and really make a mark for a program that has had a lot of success, but even take it to another level in that season?
I think, man, the one thing that team had was they were resilient, man. They didn't quit, and it didn't matter if they were down 4 in the ninth, they still believed, and to have a group like that, it reminded me a lot of the 19 group, and very player led, very senior. Not that we had a lot of seniors, but like when a player spoke, like a guy like Marine, 2-time player of the year in the conference, when he spoke, a guy that never really spoke, it kind of threw you back in your chair a little bit, and there'd be times where I was going to say something or Trippy would say something before we ever got anything out of our mouth. Hey, Coach, can we get 5 minutes here, Coach? I got to take care of something. And then boom, they would take care of it. So, that was very special to have. So I think that was one of the biggest things, that they were resilient. There was no quit in them. And the players kind of led, and it's when that happens, then people always want to talk about culture, but when that happens, man, that's pretty special. So I thought they did a great job with that. And, that's another thing that, I look here and I met with all the seniors day one and said, hey, I'm going to lean on you guys, right? Like, you've been in the program. I've been here. Yes. But seniors can either hurt or help a program. And I'm sure as heck not going to let you hurt it. So I'm going to need you guys. But I want you to leave this program better than you found it. And they're taking a tremendous responsibility in that. They've been doing a great job to this point to get people in places where we need to be, or things we need to do. And so it's really special when you sit back as a coach, a head coach, an assistant coach. It doesn't matter. But when you sit back and you see the leadership of these young men throughout a team, it makes it feel good. It makes you feel like you're doing some really good things. And we're leading, leaders of the future. So it's special to watch.
And, speaking of the conference, the South Atlantic Conference, your experience, especially recently, where they're the earliest of conference tournaments in Division II baseball. Talk a little bit about what you experienced with that, and how, in terms of building out a schedule, you have to, have a 50-game schedule by the end of April.
Yeah, I'll tell you, though, I mean, if you go back, 14, 13, 12, 12, 15 years ago, our conference used to be even earlier. And it would be a lot of the only way you could get your 50 games in was you were playing 5 games a week. You were playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, doubleheader Saturday. And, you'd be playing the midweeks against the Peach Belts and the Conference Carolinas. And, I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but sometimes you get your brains kicked in, right? Because we're on number pitcher 18, 19. We're just trying to get through the day because we just had a huge 3-game series, in the conference. So that was tough. But, our conference has done a good job. And I thought the SAC has continued to evolve, continued to grow. And we stretched out our season. Excuse me. We stretched out our season a little bit to where now we don't need to rush to try to play multiple midweeks. I don't know if off the top of my head, if we might have one, but I think that would be the only double midweek that we would actually have this year. So it's tough though. I mean, the SAC South Atlantic Conference is I think is a very good conference. I think it's only getting better. And then you pair that with just the Southeast and then the South. I think this is the best region of college baseball in Division II, right? Like they talk about the SEC. Well, we're the SAC, and I think it's a darn good conference. But this region, Southeast region, is, I mean, 4 of the last 5 national champions have come out of here. So it's a gauntlet. It doesn't matter if it's conference, non-conference. There's so many good teams in this area that even a midweek is sometimes just like, whew, it's, you're going to have to put your work in, man. Put your work boots on and strap up and let's go to work. So.
And it is like, when you think about, I love how you expanded upon it with Division II being so regionalized. Yes, your conference is tough. And I think the thing with your conference is there's been some really tough players at the top for a long time that are going to be good. I think what made the region so interesting last year is how many good teams came out of Conference Carolinas as well. Just to expand on your point about how the Southeast is an absolute gauntlet, and it feels like we knew someone was going to get left out last year. And it's like, I noticed you're playing a Barton team, a 34-win Barton team to win the year. They don't even get in the tournament, and they win nearly 70% of their games. What are the challenges of scheduling and just playing in the Southeast? Because you have to play those good teams nowadays with all the metrics and data, and you have to play a good team. But dang, these are some real good teams in this region. That makes it more challenging than other regions, just objectively, when you look at the data of how these teams are performing, that you can get a 40-win team that may not make the tournament.
I mean, we did it, in 22, 38-15 or 38-13 or something like that, and didn't make it. And I was like, man, that might have been the first 38-win team that I've ever seen not make it. But then the very next year, in 2023, LR wins 38 games and doesn't make it. So it is just, it's just one of those things where, at the end of the day, when you look at scheduling, though, like, don't you want to schedule tough, though? Like, that's what I always thought, right? Like, and I learned that, honestly, where I learned that? Coach Triplett. His first year, he had year 2 scheduled, like within a week. And I was like, damn, okay. And so he starts telling me who we're playing. That year we played, I think it was like 26 games against teams in the top 50 in the country. We played 3 separate number 1 teams when we had played them at the time. And I said, damn, this is like number 1 strength of schedule in the country, it seemed like. And I said, don't we need to win first? Learn how to win? He said, yeah, but we need to learn where we got to get to. So that was the first year. That was the last year we had a losing season up until last year. But if you want to be the best, because we're going to have to play those teams anyways in the end. So why not just prep up against them? You get more points and things like that. It means a lot more when you win against teams like that than beating up on, your local high school team. So that's just what I think it is. I mean, if you want to win, then you got to beat the big dogs. And if you want to be a big dog, then you got to bite bigger. And that's just the way it is. So let's schedule those types of games. When I was looking for that open series, like, that's the thing where I was looking for a team that I felt was going to be above 500, that's been above 500 in the past. And I got a phone call from a team, but I was like, not very good track record. And I was like, I can't play this. It does us no good. I think it would hurt us more than it would help us. So I think, in the scheduling aspect portion of the things, you got to think about things like that if you want to do what you want to do. And if you're just trying to have a winning record and extend a year on your contract, great. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to keep on playing. So, and I think our guys are the same way. So they want to play those teams as well.
And Coach, speaking of looking what you want to do, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. What are some of your expectations for the team? First year here as head coach at Newberry.
I think here the expectations don't change just because I'm a new head coach. The expectations here and have been here, they've always been high, and they're going to remain to be high. People want to put goals out there, and I have personal goals, yes, but the goals for the team are not my goals. That's their goals. And we address that, and we bring that up in the very first team meeting. And what are they? And obviously it's, we always want to compete for a SAC championship. And, we've done that now a couple times. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to continue to do it. Right. But we talk about the SAC tournament and things like that. Like, we've never really played well in the tournament, and 23 being the first time that we've won it since 99. But beyond that, like, it's not just about making it somewhere, right? Like, I thought in 19 we made it to a regional. That's what we talked about: win the conference, and we did. And I think we kind of just sat back a little bit, and we wanted to make a regional, and we did. And it was like, right. Well, somebody brought up win a regional, and then shortly after, I don't even know who it was, win a regional. Right. And that's where it's always about getting over that next hump and step by step, day by day. And, I think one of the best team goals I've heard is 5 dog piles. Somebody threw that. I want to experience 5 dog piles. And I was like, dude, that's it. Right. And why else are we doing it? And that's what I'm trying to get these guys to understand. But we can't get to the first dog pile until we worry about today. And that's the biggest thing that I want our guys to understand. And we hit on it every day is today. And I want them to be locked in on what's at hand and what's in front of their face at this very moment. So, but yeah, we got to think about those things too, because that's what we're trying to obtain.
With taking over, and you mentioned it from the top, how there's familiarity, the program, the standards, the players, the expectations. Are there things that change though for you? And what are some of those biggest challenges? I know that it may be just from any little thing like being the third base coach or things like that going to change now that you assume a different role. And what are some challenges within that?
Yes. I'm going to go in the dugout. I said this from day one and this is still a work in progress, but for 20 years, this be 21 year I've been coaching college baseball, is I've always worked with the outfielders and the hitters. And I wanted to kind of take a step back, right? Not do less work, but I wanted to spend more time with the infielders. I wanted to spend more time with the pitchers, the catchers, right? Because I always feel like the pitchers tend to always feel that when your head coach is a position type guy and he's working with a position, that they feel neglected in that aspect, that the head coach only sees them on inter squad or scrimmage or game day. And he doesn't know the work that he's putting in day after day after day when he's not throwing live. So I want to continue to work on that, to step back and not be the pitching coach, not at all, but just be another set of eyes, right? And continue to help Coach Gordy with that. I think that some of the value that I bring to the pitching side of things is not mechanics, not how to throw this, not how to throw it, just in the realms, in the eyes of a hitter, right? Like, what are we looking for as a coach? What are we looking for? Like, some of the little tricks that we're talking about, you guys talk about running game, right? Like, some of the things that we look for that they tip, right? Like, you want to talk about the sign stealing. It's not sign stealing, but like, if you tip something off and you do something and then this is what leads after that, that's a tell, right? Like, you ain't going to tell the guy playing poker across from you that, he's got to tell, right? Did Matt Damon do that in Rounders? No, he took KGB's money, so But I think those are things. So I think the biggest thing for me is just kind of sitting back and seeing it all, right, and not just being so just so locked in on one group or so. So, but man, that first day of team, and we had team BP, and we had bullpens going on. I told Gordy, this is tough. I'm sitting there trying to watch bullpens. My eyes kept going to the hitter onto the field. My eyes kept going to the outfielder when the ball's out there. So it's that's been a little adjustment. But no, I mean, I hired coaches to coach, and so I want them to coach. And so I'm going to put Seth out there at third, and Coach Corey Singh is going to coach first, and I'll coach third if I need to, if Seth's on the road or something like that. But I kind of want to be in the dugout.
And Coach, to kind of expand on, you talked a little bit about your coaching career, and I wanted to ask, you played at Keystone College when it was a 2-year school.
Mm-hmm.
You become a coach when it becomes a 4-year school. You were a part of that beginning of the program's 19 straight conference championships. How did that standard and that winning culture at the beginning of your coaching career help you prepare for, your coaching career today?
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, so Keystone, special place in my heart. Jamie Shevchik, head coach there. He was my assistant my first year, and then my head coach my second year there. But just the standard, how he did things. I mean, he just you only know one way, and that's full go and all out and play hard and let the chips fall where they may. But the standard that he had of how you do things, how you go about your business. Just so funny. Like, wear a hat, right? Like, you're a baseball player, so when you're at the baseball field, you wear a hat, right? Like, something so little, right, that you don't even think about. Man, it's a nice day. I got a headband on. I want to let my locks, not my locks, because I'm bald, but like just little things. But he just set the mindset, and he set the culture of how to do things, and he did it in a way that was like, I don't know. He was a true player's coach. He still is. I don't know what it was, about him, and how he handled himself. Like, his makeup and my makeup, like, as far as like personalities, are different in certain ways, very similar in others. But like, I'm just on the tip of my tongue and it comes out, right? Like, I don't hold back. I'm very honest, and I get it off my chest. I'm not one guy that wants to swallow it up and take it home with me, right? Like, if I have an issue or I see something, I want to address it. How else are we going to get better if we don't? So, but the culture, I mean, he just, I don't know. I don't really have an idea of exact terminology of how to put it, but man, Chev's done so much for me in my life. I lived with that guy. Like, after I came back from I graduated, I lived with him, his wife Maria, and their 18-month-old first daughter, Brielle. And I lived with them 3 separate times in 4 years while I was working there with them. And it was like they were like my family. And he married, as a matter of fact, Chev actually married my wife and I down here in Newberry. So that's how special he is to me. That's how special the place is, Keystone. And it always keeps a close place in my heart. But yeah, he started that, and to do what they do up there as far as 19 straight, they've never lost a conference championship. I mean, it's crazy how he does it, but he's just a people person. I mean, honestly, man, you've ever heard those coaches that, man, that guys would do anything for that coach, take a bullet for that guy. I'll guarantee if you ask a lot of his players, would they take a bullet for him? They'd say, damn right they would. So, and I would. I love the guy, man.
That's so cool to hear you talk about him like that and the impact he had on you, and multiple people throughout this show that you say, hey, a long-time coach that you work with takes a new role, impacts me. Same thing with Jamie Shevchik, and that is crazy. Like, when you go nearly 2 decades of winning conferences, and I think the other thing, like, he's one of the most impressive guys at his level in the entire country for coaching, and then he goes and coaches in the summer, and all the best players in the country, and he wins a couple league championships as well with all these Power 5, top 25 guys. And I got to see him do that 1 year in the Cape, and it's kind of crazy to be able to bring all these guys together who are kind of all there to get noticed and still have him go out and win some ball games. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he definitely does. It's a team aspect type thing too. The way he does things. So he's just, Coach K, like how he brings the whole team together, man, he's got that knack, and it's special. Like Trippy has his ways too. And I think he's special, right? Like, and, and everybody that I've worked with, man, I mean, you learn stuff from so many different people, and whether you're a head coach or an assistant coach. I mean, Tommy Williams, long time, he's a legend in this state, high school coached with us for 5 years. The guy was like he was like my Southern father in essence. I mean, he was, several years older than I was. And, but man, like, it was just the mind that he had, and the knowledge that they could give you, like, it was awesome. Now times are obviously different when they coached in 2024, but, the game's the same, man. The game's the same.
And Coach, the final question I have for you, you already talked a little bit about it, but, feel free to expand more on it, is, who have been your biggest mentors throughout your coaching career, and what lessons have they taught you to apply today?
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously Tripp, man. Tripp's been huge, instrumental in my life. I wouldn't, like I said, man, I don't know if I'd still be in baseball if it wasn't for him. Honestly, like what was I going to do? I moved down here. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. So, I owe a lot to that guy. So a lot of the things he's just taught me is, just kind of seeing the game in a different way. But, one of the biggest things he taught me too was recruiting, and how to recruit, and little nuances of the recruiting game that like he learned from Sully at Florida, and so he would give me a lot of tips, a lot of tricks there. Very, very useful. And because I would just go, but like, he just, hey, let's do this. Okay, all right, and then you get into it where it's like that dance where you're trying to track that girl down, you're trying to ask that nice looking girl to dance, so it's the fun part of it. But not just the recruiting. He's just taught me so many different things, man. How to be a better person. Then you look at Chev and some of the things that he's taught me, how to kind of try to interact with your players, and how to build that relationship to be a player coach, but yet understand kind of where to draw the line, and say, hey, now it's this business now, dude. We're not cracking jokes on one another now. Like it's time to get down to it. But it's kind of those things where I can be hard on you, but then that I'll give the shirt off my back for you when you're in need. And I learned those types of things from Chev and how he runs those, how he works with his players that way, and how he builds a program. You look at so many. My pops. He's no longer with us, but man, the way he loved this game, and like, I mean, I wasn't making a lot of money when I first started, obviously, and he used to always say, man, when you gonna get a real job, and I'd say, Pop, man, when you get up, what do you do? He said, I go to work. I said, you're right. When I get up, I get to go have fun. I get to go be 18 to 22 every day. He said, good. The minute you lose that mindset, get out and find something else to do. And I still get up and love what I do. I still feel 18 to 22 every day in my mind, not my body, but, so it's pretty awesome. Just, I've had a lot of great people that have, been a part of my life and have taught me so much. And, my wife, and, obviously, man, she's my rock, right? Like, we have a 2-year-old daughter about to be 2. And I told her before, like, when she got into this, because she wasn't really a sports nut, to say the least, when we first started dating, but she kind of got to understand it. She got to kind of fall in love with it. And, we always talk about, hey, I'm trying to be a head coach, and like, that's, you think I'm going now, like, I'm going to really be going then. And, just for her to always be there. And then for her to, honestly, she takes on the brunt, and she has our daughter a lot of the times because she stays at home and she works from the house. And that 2-year-old now, she get up and go now. She'll get after it. So, but I'm really appreciative. Just so many different people. But I'd be I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I'm so thankful for my wife and what she does for not just me, but honestly this program and this college. So it's just a great place to be, man.
That is fantastic to hear, Coach. Really appreciate you talking about the transition, the people who have impacted you and your career so far, and also just to push it forward. What you talk about, it was super cool to hear you say, hey, the expectations don't change. We want to do some big things here at Newberry, and we're really excited to hear that, Coach. So thank you so much for taking the time to join Robert and I here on the D2 Baseball Podcast. We're thrilled to be able to highlight your program today.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you guys reaching out and doing what you guys are doing, and I think you guys are doing some great things, and I'm just thankful that I could be a little part of it for just a little bit there this morning. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Continue to do great things. I'm looking forward to seeing what else is to come.
And that's Jay Snyder, head coach at Newberry College.